Welcome back! My name is Baller Scuba. This is Video Games Over Time. We are still in 1982. Today, we're going to talk about Demon Attack. The story of Demon Attack takes us to Rob Fulop. Rob Fulop had been working at Atari since 1978. He had programmed the Atari 400 and 800 port of Space Invaders, as well as the Atari 2600 port of Missile Command, both of which we have mentioned before. The Atari 2600 port of Missile Command would sell over 2.5 million copies. As a Christmas bonus for those sales, Rob Fulop received a coupon for a free turkey. Fulop felt unappreciated at Atari, so he left and joined with other former employees from Atari and Mattel. Those men, 8 in total, would form a new company on July 17th, 1981, named Imagic. Imagic would become the second company to release third-party games for the Atari 2600, after Activision. The first game that Imagic would release would be Demon Attack for the Atari 2600. Demon Attack was programmed by Rob Fulop. The game is said to be inspired by Galaxian, the 1979 arcade title by Namco. However, the game more resembles Phoenix, a 1980 arcade game published by Century. Demon Attack is a fixed shooter. The player uses a laser cannon while stranded on the planet Krybor. The enemies come in the form of demons that descend from the top of the screen. Like many shooters, the game is played in waves. As the player goes through the waves, the game becomes more difficult, with the demons gaining new weapons and new behaviors. Demon Attack was released by Imagic for the Atari 2600 in 1982. Imagic would release the game in a uniquely shaped cartridge, one that had an extra ridge on top. The box would also feature reflective silver to help make the game stand out more on store shelves. That is the short backstory to Demon Attack. With that now told, it's time to play the game for ourselves. And here we are in the game. As you can see, we don't get the best title screen here. We basically just get a small demo of the game, and it says Imagic at the top. I've been saying it Imagic. I can't necessarily find a lot of information on how to pronounce this company name, but from what I've been able to find, it has been pronounced Imagic, so we have to assume that it's halfway between like Imagine and Magic. You could also make the case for iMagic, but I think that's a bad case, and then Imagic, which probably is even a worse case. But I've been saying Imagic, that's how I'm going to continue to say it. This is Demon Attack. Let's get in. There's not a lot to talk about with this game. What you see is what you get. Let's head in. And here we are, fighting the demons. As you can see, they do spawn a little bit differently than what we have seen in other games that we have played, but very similar to how they spawned in Phoenix, which I have brought up before. It definitely more resembles Phoenix than it does Galaxian, but the official story is that it is based on Galaxian. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. For the time being, we are fighting demons, so I'm told. We do have our laser cannon in front of us. As you can see, the way that it fires is similar in style to how it worked in Galaxian, where you can actually see the laser like prepared on the cannon before it is available to be fired. All right, can we make it through wave 2? We sure can. Okay, we're on to wave 3. Things get a little bit more difficult at wave 3. You can see that the way that they shoot at me is a little bit different. It's a little bit harder to dodge. And they do spawn very quickly and then shoot almost immediately after they spawn. We're up to 6 lives. All right, stage number 4, I believe. There we go. As long as I keep getting the bottom one, it'll work out okay. The bottom one's the one that's going to shoot at me. I'm trying to develop strategies for this. I've been playing it for a little bit, trying to get better. But To be honest, the controls are pretty stiff. All right, we've made it to level 5. When you make it to level 5, they do have enemies that now split. When you shoot them, they form two smaller demons. Once again, we're going with demons, even though you can hear the tweeting when they decide to like dive bomb me. And there's only so much I can do when they decide to dive bomb me. If I can't hit them like on the top of their little arc, then I'm screwed. But once I start hearing the little jingle, I get a little bit of an idea of where they're going to go. Otherwise, the enemies are fairly random. I haven't been able to discern any sort of pattern to how they come at me. Really, I want to go for the small ones at this point, but that's sometimes easier said than done. All right, I'm just going to avoid you. All right, now you're going to shoot at me. There we go. All right. On to stage number 6, and so far I've only lost 1 life. I have to say something, and then bad things happen. Just going to avoid you. So, the game is basically this. I should point out that in the original version of the game, there were a total of 84 waves. And they stopped programming at 84, or Rob Fulop, I should say, stopped at 84, thinking that nobody was going to be able to make it that far. Word quickly spread of people beating the game. As a result, he kind of went back and reprogrammed it, and in all later versions of the game, there's basically an infinite amount of waves. But originally, there were 84. I will not make it to wave 84 today. I am not that good at this game. But I'm going to do what I can. Honestly, this has been the best that I've been able to pull off so far, so I am happy. All right. We're on to these guys. I've already lost track of where we are, but I'm going to avoid that. Okay. Yeah, the way that they move is random, and so it becomes difficult to hit them. I was trying to avoid staying under you and ran into the bullets that already existed. They do descend, just very slowly. It's hard to keep track of them sometimes. There's only so much I can do when they're shooting at me. Okay, avoid you. You're just gonna go for the bottom of the screen. Come on here. There's 1. There's 2. All right, I believe that we have made it to level 9, which is when the second new thing happens. Ah. No! It is weird that the music doesn't stop. When you die, like you don't get a release of tension at all, and the music is clearly based on Space Invaders music, the very simple, like heartbeat type mechanic. Ah, I tried to move and it was too early. All right, so just under 4,000 points. That's honestly the best that I have done. I think I got 1 more in me, maybe 2. Let's see what we can do. Try to make it further. As you can clearly see. At least it feels like my laser is suddenly a lot slower than it was when we last saw it. I feel that the game slowly ramps up the speed of everything, and part of that does include my laser here. My strategy to hit the higher ones has honestly always been go around where they are and shoot and hope for the best. Later on, we'll call this strategy spray and pray, but right now I don't really have the ability to spray, so it's just hope for the best. That's what we're calling this strategy. With the bottom one, I try to get close to where it is, to where the range is of its shot, shoot and hope that it comes my direction. That's honestly the strategy for that. If they spawn close enough to me, I know that I can hit them. I just have to get out of there before their shot hits, hits me. Hits the bottom. But playing the spawn game is risky, as you can see there. But yeah, just kind of get close to where it shoots from, shoot and hope that it comes my direction is kind of my strategy. Oh, There we go. And you do want to go for the bottom one first because that is the one that is shooting at you. That is one strategy that I have picked up. There we go. All right, stage number 5. That's when the splitting happens and everything really starts slowing down because hitting these small ones is very difficult. Nope. Okay, well, you get to stay over there. Okay, I couldn't get past him without hitting him. Yeah, you just kind of have to hope once, you know, you hear the chirping that you don't get caught in a corner by them. And you can just kind of dodge them. At least that's the way that I have to hear about it. Once again, though, it's a little easier to predict where they're going to be because their movements are much more set. No! During that stage. Alright, just barely dodged that. Yeah, once I hit one, it seems to trigger the other one to go through that. I thought I got hit there anyway, and then I tried to move, and it was too late. Let's clear the smaller one. No! Oh, this is... Oh, what am I doing? This is not a good run at all. This has been a very bad run. Okay, there. Come on. Hit something. Nope, dodge now. It's like, once it's low enough, I'm just dodging. Not trying to shoot it anymore. You stay over there. Okay, there we go. I think this is wave 7. Yeah, there was not too much I could do there. Alright, I think I got one more in me. Let's try it again, but honestly at this point, you kind of have seen what is going on in this game. Nothing too different from this point forward, other than it's going to be more difficult. There, yep, just hope for the best. There we go! Somehow we landed that. We must fight the demons. We must save our planet. There's not too much to the lore here. But I believe that, I mean, obviously we're shooting them for a reason, right? We're trying to save ourselves. I assume that we're not on the offense here because they keep spawning. Come on. There. No. There's that shot. Like I said, you just kind of just get right about where its range is and hope for the best. Could you? Yeah, thank you. Go into my shot. That's pretty much how the top level has to die. Unless I can spawn kill him like that. That's nice. There we go. Yeah, it seems like I maxed out on lives. They were giving me a life for every level to some extent, and then they kind of decided to stop that. No! Didn't see that one until it was too late. But as you can see, we're back to kind of the level 1 firing pattern. They try to ease you into things here at level 5 because the split is such a drastic change to what you have been doing. Come on. No! It was bigger of a range than I thought. Got you. They do slowly descend my way. But it's not always easy to keep track. Somehow dodge that. I'll take it. I'm just gonna hit you. Yeah, it's a lot easier because they do have a set amount of movement that they can do, a set distance that they do when they start descending with the chirps. They're not birds, though. Birds would be copyright infringement. They're not birds, they're demons. As I die repeatedly to the bird demons. I can't... Thank you. Everything just feels a little bit slow. A little bit stilted. little bit delayed in terms of controls. It doesn't quite feel right to me, especially compared to some of the other games that we have played on much more powerful systems. Come on. I'm just gonna dodge you. And I don't get another life. Maybe I have to kill all the enemies in order to get that. But that is not my goal. I also screwed up and have way too many of these things on the screen right now. I keep screwing up. I keep on hitting it. There was nowhere for me to go. All right, just under 3,000. So the first one was the best run. But you have basically seen what the game does have to offer. It just gets more difficult as you continue. So that is the game now played, and with the game now played, it's time to talk about how it holds up today. Playing the game today, I do have to say that it is fun, but that fun is tempered by the fact that the hardware could not really stand up to other games of the time. Because Demon Attack is released on the Atari 2600, which by 1982 is a 5-year-old console, and if you remember, wasn't a very powerful console when it was first released, the game has its limitations. And those limitations become apparent when you start comparing it to the arcade fixed shooters of the time. It's hard to compare this to even Galaxian, which inspired it, or to Phoenix, which inspired it. Because the limitations of the hardware are so great, it's difficult to make that comparison between the two. So it's difficult for me to really say that I recommend this game or that it's a good game. It's a good game for the console. It's not necessarily a good game compared to all the games at the time. At least that's the way that it feels to me. The controls are stiff, everything is kind of slow, and the enemies are difficult to hit because of the programming of how they move randomly and how difficult, how fast they are compared to how fast my laser goes to them. Because my cannon was a little bit slow to move, it felt like there were definitely times when I would be put in a position where I had to lose. There wasn't really anything I could do to try to save myself. But that's also because I don't necessarily have the skill to be able to make it to level 84. If I had that skill, there would be techniques that I could use to try to get out of those situations, but I don't have those techniques. I don't have those skills. The game feels, at this point, playing it from a modern perspective, it kind of just feels like another shooter. It doesn't necessarily stand out from the other shooters of the time. It doesn't stand out from Galaga or Phoenix or any of the other space shooters that we have really done, those fixed shooters, the scoot and shoots. It feels like another entry in that. Which is not a fair thing to say at the time, because of course this was one of the few original home shooters that was available on the market. This wasn't necessarily a port of an existing arcade title, and I have to put the necessarily in there because there's legal reasons for that. But this was an original title. It was something that was not available in arcades, but it was available at home. So you kind of have to temper your expectations for the game. But playing it from a modern perspective, if you have the ability to play the arcade games, I would recommend the arcade games far before I would recommend this game. With that said, when it comes to comparing this game to the ports of the arcade game for the Atari 2600, I feel that it is a much more fair comparison, and I think it holds up fairly well to the ports of, let's say, Space Invaders or Galaxian. I think that it holds up fairly well compared to those. But once again, if you have access to the original arcade versions, I feel that this is a game that can be overlooked. So it's hard for me to recommend this game because of the hardware limitations. Everything just feels a little stilted. The graphics are not good. I would even argue that they're not particularly good for the Atari 2600 at the time, but they are passable at the time. In terms of the sound, it was a little weird to hear the music not stop when I died. So that was kind of weird. I'm used to once you die, the music stops, you respawn, and then the music starts up again. For it not to stop just kind of felt like I never got sucked out of everything. And the quick respawn was also a little strange and resulted in multiple deaths for me a couple times in a row because I didn't have time to get out of the way. So the music, it's decent, I would say, for the Atari 2600. It's definitely one of the better soundtracks, I guess you could call it, the better sounds for a video game at the time. But looking back, it's hard to not compare it to the better titles from the arcade in all aspects. So for me, it is a slight recommendation. I could recommend this game if you are a fan of fixed shooters, want to see something a little bit different than what you have seen before, you want to see what fixed shooters were like on consoles, then this is a great option. But if you're just kind of interested in shooters as a whole, the arcade will suffice and this game could probably be skipped. And that's my modern take on the game. When the game was released, the game was popular. Demon Attack was received well by the audience and by the critics. The critics said that the game's quality was nearly equal to arcade games of the time. The game would get the attention of Atari. Atari had purchased the rights to port Phoenix to home consoles. Atari felt that Demon Attack was so close to Phoenix that it violated those intellectual property rights. Atari sued Imagic. The two companies would settle the case outside of court, and Imagic would continue to sell Demon Attack. Demon Attack would become one of the best-selling games for the Atari 2600. It would sell over 2 million copies. It would also become Imagic's best-selling game. The game would be ported to several different home platforms. We will look at some of these versions in the future. Looking ahead, Imagic would capitalize off the success of Demon Attack and would continue to release games for the Atari 2600. We will be hearing from Imagic again. As for Rob Fulop, he would continue to work in the industry, and although it may take some time, we will hear from him again as well. That will do it for the story of Demon Attack for now. My name is Baller Scuba. This has been Video Games Over Time. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in our next video when we return to the 21st century.